All right, Sintra, would you like me to kick it off?
Absolutely.
Well, I want to say happy Thursday to everybody that's participating today. We have an incredible panel talking about some wonderful work that's going on in Peoria. But just so everybody knows, this is a bi-weekly program that we've been running to highlight assets in the West Valley. Please go to Westmark's website if you haven't attended or participated in any of the previous virtual tours. Those are elements that we've left on the Westmark website, really, so people can get a sense of the incredible work that's going on in the West Valley and really where a lot of our projects are heading. And I want to say thank you again to Sintra's team for, I think, creating this dynamic way to highlight up and coming projects in the West Valley, really in response to the pandemic. But really, I think we've identified a wonderful resource that when really we're kind of through the majority of this issue, that's going to serve to really connect a wider audience to the activity in the West Valley. So I am very excited today to have my colleague Kirsten Hall. She is my sister from another mister. I absolutely adore this woman and adore the work that's going on in Peoria. And really with that, Kirsten, I would love to kind of turn over the reins to you to introduce your asset partners here. And then I will be providing some of the color commentary and questions as we move through the presentation. But I just want to say thank you for being here again today. And we're real excited to learn more about this project.
Mike, thank you. Thanks so much. And thanks for highlighting Peoria again. We've got some really amazing things happening in our city. So I am very pleased to announce the dream team that has put together really the new face of Park West. I think everybody knows it's been there for 10 years. It's beautiful. It's always been beautiful. It's a great place. And Sire Equity had a vision. They brought in John Corator and his team. And John, I'm not going to step on what he's going to introduce himself. He has been a longtime developer and around the valley. The Borgata was his baby, his brainchild, and now we've got him at Park West. And I'm telling you, there's every time I call him for an update, I'm like, you've got who? That's awesome. So I want to hand it over to the team, and I think they have a great presentation for us. But thanks again for having us.
Yeah. Thank you, Kirsten and Mike and Sintra and everybody at Westmark for putting this webcast series together. I think it's a great opportunity to keep everybody connected during this interesting time that we're all going through, and also to highlight some of the interesting projects on the West Valley. And we are grateful for the opportunity to present our project, which is Park West. So just before we jump into the property, I just wanted to introduce myself. So my name's Greg Barrett. I'm with Sire Equity. I'm the asset manager that's responsible for the project for Sire. And we'll also be hearing from John Corator and John Mastriano, who we've partnered with to assist us on the leasing front, as Kirsten mentioned earlier. Just wanted to talk briefly about, before I jump into Park West, about Sire, and give a little background on our company for those of you who aren't familiar with us. So we're an owner and operator of retail, office, and industrial properties in several states in the southwestern part of the U.S. We own properties in Arizona, California, Oregon, Nevada, and Colorado. And I personally work on our California and Nevada properties, as well as about half of our Arizona portfolio.
Greg, I think we lost you there.
In Phoenix, we own 5 shopping centers, one of which is Park West. And clearly, if you look behind me, I'm not in San Diego at the moment, but that's where I office. We also have offices in Los Angeles and Phoenix, and out in Phoenix is our property management team. All right, so just want to give a high-level overview of Park West. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the project, and as Kirsten, you mentioned, this project's been there for about 10 years. and it's a beautiful project. And there's a lot of activity going on right now, which John and I will touch on in a moment. But this project is, as you know, is located on the northwest corner of Northern Avenue and the 101. It's got great access and visibility from the freeway. And every day when I go into work, my goal is to create, our vision for this property has always been to create West Valley's premier family destination. And so I'll touch on, and so will John, some of the things that we've done over the course of our ownership of the asset to create, West Valley's premier family destination. So in short, the property is a 74-acre master planned mixed use development. It has 250,000 square feet of retail. It's anchored by Harkins. It also has some land that's available for development as well. So here's an aerial of the project, and I'll kind of run through the project real quick, starting on the west side of the project. As you can see in the orange box there, that's the retail component of the project. On Northern, on the south side of the project, we have Fleming's, BJ's, and the cabin, as well as the entrance to the main drive aisle there. And you can see on the top portion of the retail is Harkins, which anchors the project. You can also see that there's a number of developable pads there. What we see for development on this project, it could be hotel, multifamily, or additional retail. Moving to the east, in the very middle of the project, you can see where it says not apart. There's also 268 multifamily units, which we don't own. And then to the east of that, along 101, are 18 acres of vacant land, 9 of which are developable. And that land is currently under contract with a developer who's looking to develop multifamily. All right, so here's another shot of the retail component with more detail. You can see the main drive aisle there, as well as some of the pads that are available for development. All right, so there's a little bit of lag when I change the slides, so hopefully we can get this to switch. All right. So now I just want to run through kind of the history of this project and what we've done during our ownership of the project. So as many of you know, this project came out of the ground in 2008. It was developed by another operator. It had a great vision, and they had pretty good success on the pre-leasing front. But as you all know, in 2008, that was a very tough time, particularly for lifestyle centers like Park West. And so although the developer had a great vision and it's located in a great part of town, that was just a very challenging time to kick off this development. And so the leasing didn't quite get the momentum that they wanted or they anticipated. And shortly after it was developed, it was sold to another operator. And then a couple years after that, it was sold to another operator. And even though those operators are very, very good operators, when we were looking at the property in 2016, we saw that the property could have been operated at a higher level and that this property just hadn't met its full potential. And I'm sure most of you that live and are familiar with the project have asked the same question. Why is this property not, why is it not fully leased? Why has it not reached its full potential? It's in a great location, and it's a beautiful property that was newly constructed. So that was what we saw when we were looking at it in 2016. And as I mentioned before, our vision for the project has been to create the West Valley's premier family destination. So when we acquired it in 2016, it was only 68% occupied, and our thesis for the project was to improve the leasing, which John and John have really done a great job of. We'll talk about more in just a few minutes. Also to add some exterior renovations to make it show even better than it was at acquisition, and to improve the operations of the center as well. And those were things that we thought we could do upon ownership. So in 2018 and 2019, we completed a $4.5 million renovation, which included a splash pad, a playground area, pylon signs, which you can now see from the 101, monument signs, shade structures, new paint, improved landscaping and lighting. So it looks It looks very good now. For those of you that have been there in the last 6 or 12 months, it looks awesome. And that, coupled with the efforts of John and John, we've seen a huge influx in our leasing activity. And in 2019, that really started to come to fruition with a number of big openings, like Cold Beer and Cheeseburgers, Pita Jungle, Orange Theory, Hoi Pokey, Boss Barber, among others. And one other thing that I wanted to note is on Saturdays, we host a farmer's market, which thousands of people attend and is really, really popular. So if you haven't been, suggest you go. I'm waiting for the next slide here. All right, so there we go. So I want to show off some of the exterior renovations at the center. I'll start with a picture on the left. As you can see, this was taken a few months back while we were wrapping up the construction of the splash pad. You can see the splash pad there behind the fence. That's all done and ready to go. We've got it, off limits right now due to the COVID situation, but it's a great addition to the project. In front of that, you can see some of the playground equipment that we installed, the turf, and most importantly, on the left side, you can see some of the mist coming off the misters, which will keep it cool for everybody in the summer months around the splash pad. Switching over to the picture on the right side of your screen, this is in front of Victoria's Secret. You can see one of the shade structures that we installed. They're beautiful. They do a great job of keeping everybody cool in the summer. We used a number of different shade structures throughout the project, but there are shade structures all throughout the project. All right, so as I mentioned before, we recently completed our monument and pylon signs. The picture on the left is a picture of one of the monument signs right after it was completed. As you can see, they're beautiful, they're large, and provide tenants and prospective tenants with great visibility. And then in the middle there, we have one of the two pylon signs along the 101. There's still panels available for future tenants, so great opportunities there for visibility off the 101. And then within the project, we have a number of directional signs. As you can see on the right side of the screen, that's one of the directional signs that was recently done. All right, so I'm gonna turn the time over to John to talk about some of the noteworthy tenants, what's ahead in 2020 and beyond, and to give a little bit more of an overview of the project. So take it away, John.
Okay, great. So are my arrows going to work for switching slides?
You should be set.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, I want to introduce myself. I'm John Corritor, president of the Corritor Company. We've been doing specialty retail projects around the valley for 30 years, including Scottsdale Porter, Kierland, Desert Ridge, Tempe Marketplace, Dana Park, the Village at Arrowhead, Westgate, and Casa Paloma. And we specialize in lifestyle center products, which if you want to really know what that is, it's specialty retail that very often is a curated collection of national brands and local and regional operators, apparel, home furnishings, restaurant, and entertainment, often with theaters as well. Typically the product type really complements regional malls. So rather than having a department store enclosed regional malls, during the 2000s, there were hundreds of these lifestyle centers that offered good shopping experiences in an outdoor environment that were unique to each location. And they tended to be centers that neighborhoods and communities would identify and adopt as their own. So we were particularly excited about doing that in the West Valley because unlike the rest of the market, the West Valley doesn't really have any supply of this type of center. Now, Westgate might be the closest thing, but that's really an entertainment center. Very little retail and mostly big venues that are, event driven. So our center would be most similar to what you see in the center of Desert Ridge, Tempe Marketplace, shops at Norterra and Dana Park, and those types of communities. So as Greg mentioned, when Sire acquired the center, it was, was it 68%? And we had a nice nucleus of very, very good tenants. And then there was a big fall off and there were weaker tenants and vacancy. So the nucleus that we were able to build around is Harkins Theater from a restaurant standpoint, Fleming's, BJ's, and Grimaldi's, which are best of class operations. And then we had a group of about 6 great national retailers: Victoria's Secret, Bath & Body, Chico's, Brighton, Vans, and LensCrafter. Those retailers have all been there since the very beginning, and they've stuck through, the good and bad times over a dozen years. And so we were able to build from there. And we had to start by completely renovating the center, freshening it up, adding shade structures, better public areas, and just basically updating the center in general and adding much better signage, which Greg already went over. And then in the last couple of years, we have made 15 deals. Now, 14 of those deals stuck. I'll explain that a little bit later. We signed a very large lease with Forever 21 that unfortunately went bankrupt. And so that was the one lease that we signed, but did not stick with us. We also have 3 leases out in addition to the dozen leases that we've signed. So we've done about 80,000 square feet of new deals since Sire took over the property, which is about 30% of the GLA of the center. But we did have some fallout and some replacement. So we sit at about 75% leased right now as we are today. The new deals that we did were the best sports bar in the market, Cold Beer and Cheeseburger. They have 13 or 14 locations around town. The best poke bar we could find, Koi Poke, they have 8 locations. The top breakfast operator, Hash Kitchen, that this is their 5th location. Sicilian Butcher and Sicilian Baker, they're an Italian operation. They have 2 others, this is their 3rd. They're very, very successful. Jalapenos, that has been a staple in North Scottsdale with 2 locations. They've been operating for over 20 years. Then we did what we thought was the best ice cream player, Creamistry Ice Cream, and put Merry Mountain Cookies, which is in Scottsdale Fashion Square, right next to them. In our splash pad area, we added Orange Theory and then relocated Vans from that spot to the street, which resulted in a big increase in sales. And then we added a Boss Barbershop, Lux Nails, and we also added a state-of-the-art wine bar, the living room. This will be their 6th location. So like I said, that was about 80,000 square feet of new activity. We also have 3 leases out right now. One lease out with Wildflower Bread Company, one out with Classic Cakes and Confections, which is a patisserie bakery type specialty baker out of Scottsdale. And then we have a health supplement tenant that is going in our health, beauty, and fitness area. So we still have about 25% of the center left to lease, and we are targeting more national brand apparel, sunglasses, accessories, jewelry, cosmetics, furniture, bedding, specialty fitness concepts, specialty services. We still are looking to do a coffee operator and a boba tea operation. So we have a lot of work to do still to get it to ideally over 90%, which our plan is to do that over the next 12 months. We were really expecting to actually be to at least 85% by the end of this year. I think we lost about 6 months of momentum with the COVID, but we've been working hard and keeping our deals alive, and we have a little bit of a delay, but we're very, very active. So I'm going to look at some other slides here. Let's see. It's not switching. Okay, what you see there is Jalapenos Inferno under construction. This is approximately just under 5,000 square feet with 2 outdoor patios right outside the theater. We're creating this very vibrant area right at the doorstep of Harkins at the entrance, where we'll have jalapenos, pita jungle, living room, Grimaldi's, and cold beer and cheeseburger, all with big outdoor patios facing each other right at the entrance to the theater. It's going to be very exciting when it's fully open this fall. And let's see, next slide. Here we go. Now this, I'd like to point out that as we develop, the neighborhood continues to evolve and develop around us. So we existed across the freeway from Peoria Crossing, which is a big box power center. So collectively, between our specialty retail and their big box retail, you have a very nice kind of synergistic center of commerce at this intersection. That recently has been bolstered by a huge, huge entertainment component with Desert Diamond opening. That is a major significant, I think, traffic generator for this whole intersection. You know, it's a $400 million project, very, very upscale, lots of different components to it, and it's going to continue to expand with hotels and concert venues and lots of other things adding to the area. Now, directly across from Park West on all sides of it are residential and mixed-use developments that are in various stages of development and under contract. We have some residential that is along the freeway portion of Park West. We have a deal working for some additional buildings within Park West of 4-story luxury apartments. We have a patio home project directly across 99th Avenue and directly across Northern, which is technically Glendale, to our direct south, is a project that is going to have restaurant pads in the front and then an apartment and hotel project directly behind it that is done by a company called Thompson Thrift. So we also have a deal on the corner. They're not us. There is a deal with Speedway, which is doing a market and a gas component right on the hard corner across at 99th Avenue. So this entire intersection of Northern and the 101 is going to look very different in a couple of years. And also keeping in mind, when you really look at Westgate, the outlet center, Cabela's, and Desert Diamond, all of that tends to blend into this central West Valley area that creates really a downtown for the West Valley. And as we see the future and more office development occurring here, which is expected, and with the Glendale Air Park, you've really got a very, very accessible area that is very attractive for what we're trying to do. One of the things that's interesting is that if you look at a 10-minute drive time on the freeway, we have almost 1 million people accessible to Park West within that 10-minute drive time. Very, very easy to access. We can pull from lots of different pockets around the West Valley, and we are offering a collection of food and beverage that is unrivaled anywhere on this side of town. over a dozen best-of-class offerings. So we expect that combined with a theater, health and fitness, and apparel to make it the destination that the neighborhood communities will adopt as their favorite place to go. So that is, and then I guess the next slide is a lot of the things I've been explaining. There's the residential projects, as you can see, drawn in, Thompson Thrift across the way, Porter Kyle directly to our west, and the Trammell Crow project directly to our east. When you see those and you imagine even more residential on some of the in parcels that are dirt pads in Park West, it's going to become a very interactive urban community that will be vibrant 24/7. There'll be nothing really like it, you know, on this side of town that, you know, is this quaint streetscape that I think is very family friendly with all of this residential and mixed use components. Let me see. And then finally, this is a site plan, and what you see is everything in, oh, how do I get back to that? Let's see. Thank you. Everything you see in dark and light blue are deals that we've made. And so, and unfortunately, on this main corner right here, that's where we had Forever 21. So we're in the process of working with some other national apparel tenants for this corner. But most of the space that is left is just mid-block space here, here, and here. And our whole plan was to basically anchor the corners with very, very good restaurants, creating plenty of traffic and vitality. And then the middle areas in between those restaurants become very appealing retail locations for people to take advantage of all that traffic. So that is our plan. That's where we are. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Hey, thank you, John. So again, this is Mike Hoover. Just a quick follow-up. So when you start to look at that corridor and think about where it's at even just 3 years ago, I know in the West Valley, we're starting to brand some of our corridors. SRP is doing a great job helping us with some of the marketing of that through Westmark. How would you started to characterize it, but how would you compare 3 years ago, maybe the impressions that people would have in that corridor to what we're starting to see come up out of the ground now?
Well, in the last 3 years, you saw Top Golf open across from Westgate. You saw the casino open. You saw us completely renovate. And I believe there's been some additional development in the air park. You know, the road, the Northern Parkway improvements, you know, continue to, you know, be discussed that the most important link between the 303 and the 101 is Northern. So that really lands us as probably the best intersection in the West Valley transportation standpoint. So we feel really good about being ground zero in the West Valley and having the ability to draw from the good demographic pockets in North Peoria, in Arrowhead, in Litchfield Park, in Goodyear. You know, we can draw from all of those areas and Surprise. But by creating the kind of a one-of-a-kind unique development, we're going to be the most convenient, closest option for all of those communities in the West Valley. So we're not a little 3, 4, 5 mile draw. You know, we're a 10-mile draw for what we're offering. And so, you know, we feel really good about, you know, our concept, what we're creating. Right now, there's tremendous barriers for competition to enter. You really can't build something new and get the grouping of tenants that we have. So I think that as long as we're tenacious and diligent, and we stick to our vision, I think that we're going to end up with the quality assets and trophy property of the West Valley.
So Greg, thank you, John. Greg, one comment that you made, and any of the panelists would like to chime in on this, I think it'd be interesting. You talked about the family friendliness of the project. So you have a lifestyle center that was sitting there for nearly a decade. You guys came into it and noticed that was a deficiency. It was at the changing tastes of way people interact with lifestyles, or was it always kind of a missing component of that project?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that was kind of a missing component of the project, and that's why we added the renovations that we did and focused on family-friendly renovations with the splash pad, the playground equipment, and the tenants that we're targeting are going to cater and do cater to families. So that's the goal that we have. We think that there's kind of a deficiency there in the market. And we think that this project is well suited to fill that gap in the market.
Yes, I want to add that we tried to position it differently than Westgate, which is more nightlife driven. It doesn't have the quaint streetscape and the nice shaded sidewalks that we have and the small intimate splash pad. So the two projects feel very, very different. And the size of their tenants are they have much larger tenants, like the big Dave & Buster's, for example, and the big, bowling tenant that they have there. So they are very different feel. There's a very different feel in those two, even though they're very close. And just like the outlet mall, that has shopping, but outlet shopping is different than the type of specialty retail that we have, which is definitely not discount shopping. So I think that it's really important to look at the competition that you have, the other projects, and make sure you're offering the neighborhood something that's different and unique and carves its own niche in the market.
The other piece that was striking, go ahead, Kristen.
Oh, Mike, sorry. I was going to add that retail has always been experiential, always. It's come to the fore recently with the growth of Amazon Prime and, the deliveries, that kind of thing. Right now, we have kind of a lifestyle corridor that offers families and individuals kind of whatever they want. If they want, a lot of fun and go and the nightlife of Westgate, there you go, or the big sports venues. You've got, this is John Courtois has said, calls it the stroller set. If you're, you're looking for a quieter, more family-oriented place, you've got this. And if you just need, goods and staples, then you're going to go to Peoria Crossings on the other side of the 101.
So
yeah, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, John, please.
We're also in a very good position to capitalize on people going to events, whether it's football, hockey, or any of the other cultural events. They tend to stop at Park West before or after going to those events because we're easy to access and park, and the quality of our restaurants and selection is very, very appealing. And so a lot of people will park at Park West and they'll shuttle to the football game and they'll come back to Park West, after the game. So we do, enjoy the synergy of being in that area without being right at the stadium where it gets very crowded and difficult to get in and out of. So, that's another thing that, that bolsters our business.
John, you defined Park West as a lifestyle center as opposed to an entertainment district. I think you're going through a lot of those elements of the differences now, but is that, I guess, can you explain a little bit more about the differentiators?
Yes, Westgate is a collection of large entertainment venues and, and big, large event-driven restaurants. And we have a collection of best-of-class local and regional operators that are successful for their food reputation and offerings, not based on being there for events. So they're successful in their own right, in various locations around the valley that are not dependent on being near a special event venue.
Right.
So it's a very different feel. Our scale is completely different than what you see at Westgate. The experience of, parking kind of further out and walking into larger structures that you have there, just the space between buildings, the scale of the buildings, they're very different. And there's a role and there's a place for both. And we complement each other. And I think that the residents enjoy having both products.
I completely agree. And I'd like to just comment on the photos that you showed earlier. I was actually out there yesterday, and some of those shade structures are fully fleshed out. They're beautiful. I can tell those were early on photos because I was extremely impressed when I was out there yesterday. Awesome.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
One piece that was pretty evident coming out how that aerial is going to change over the next couple of years is the multifamily projects that are coming in. What will the multifamily do for your project and do for the look and feel, but also the sustainability of your project?
That's a great question. For one thing, it's going to bring a more upscale, upmarket user that is interested in paying a higher rent per foot to have the amenities in walking distance. And so it's going to continue the upward gentrification of the area, and it's also going to provide a built-in customer base that's there because they want to walk to all of the shops and restaurants. So I think it's going to make a very big difference. And as you see the future of retail now, especially with all the hits retail has taken with e-commerce and now the COVID-19 crisis, you're going to see a huge movement nationally of retail projects becoming more mixed use. So you'll see components of retail being repurposed for residential, office, hotel, you name it. You'll see older malls turn into corporate campuses. There's going to be a lot of that because we don't need as much retail space as there is now. Fortunately, Park West has a very reasonable amount of retail space. We're not a very large center at 250,000 square feet. And so our size is about the right size if we were to build it today that you would want. But a lot of these shopping centers have way too much GLA for the amount of retail that's I see being really needed, over the next 10 years when you back out the concepts that are going to be lost to e-commerce and and so forth. And also restaurants are going to change, they're going to evolve, and it'll be interesting to see. There'll be a huge evolution of changes now after the COVID crisis where restaurants will tweak their designs, to provide for a little bit more social distancing. We've got to-go and delivery areas for every restaurant. We're working on a valet parking amenity, and there's just a lot of designs. The theater, is going to be designed, I'm sure, when it remodels, to probably have more room around the seats, smaller screening rooms, and create a different theater experience coming out of this crisis. So we're in a good position, I think, to really incorporate a lot of the newest kind of redesigns in retail into what we're doing.
Yeah, thanks, John. And just to kind of expound upon that, from my perspective is on the principal side, on the ownership side. I mean, one of the factors that we, as well as tenants, look at when they're evaluating a retail property is the traffic counts. And any increase in density, population, and access in traffic counts makes the project more attractive. And so we know that additional population, not just the additional units that hopefully will get developed at our project, but across the street on both sides, are going to increase the traffic counts, the population in the immediate area, which is going to fuel the retailers that are there. We think that's also going to provide a little bit more on the daily needs type retail and help us attract some of those tenants that provide those daily needs, because there will be such a large population within such a short distance to the project.
Yes, I should say we're also targeting a small specialty grocer for this project in a future phase, which would coincide with some of the additional residential that we're adding. So we have a lot of long-term plans. We're trying to hit on multiple cylinders and become this interactive village, pedestrian village that I think would be a very welcome addition to the West Valley, which is mostly a vehicular type of spread out situation. So I think that we're going to really stand out.
Hey, one last question on the multifamily. In your experience with other projects that have matured over time with housing coming in around them, does the customer that's coming in to the lifestyle center, do they react differently if it's mixed use as opposed to just being a lifestyle center in a for lack of a better word, a farm area?
I think that the general feeling is that it becomes more of an authentic feeling experience when people are living and working and shopping and dining all in one place. It's less contrived of a feeling. And I think that's what generally people are seeking, is a way to interact with the people in their community. And this gives you an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And I would have to say that coming out of a pandemic, if you look back at, at history, the 1918 pandemic led to the Roaring 20s. The pendulum swings. And once we're through this crisis, I think that people are going to be very excited to get out and be around people again. Yeah, they'll be cautious. It'll take a little time, but I don't think that it's the end of people congregating. It certainly hasn't been. We've been through many, many pandemics.
Right.
To add to that, the live and play type of culture that a lot of people, particularly a millennial demographic, they really seek that kind of lifestyle. There's a project, to give you an example, in Tempe that's doing something similar to that, to where it's very much blended into the retail. So whenever we were learning about all the multifamily developments around the property, we were actually really excited about it. And the reception of the tenants that we've talked to, even the prospects, they've been very excited about it as well. Now, I think whenever people begin to actually fill into that residential, they'll want something that's their own. And the fact that we have variety of high quality tenants there, that's just basically we're setting up for the future as well.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for the panel discussion. I think before I transition to my colleague, Kirsten, I think I have a poll question that's coming up. Is that right, Christina?
Yep.
All right, everybody take just a few seconds here and answer the question.
My mouse is now connecting to this.
Oh, if you're a panelist, I don't think you're allowed to answer.
Yeah, it's for attendees only.
That's
right as well.
We don't want to skew the votes.
Kind of an obvious answer too.
Well, that's good.
Good answer.
Christina, thank you so much.
It wouldn't be on the webcast if they didn't know about Park West.
I think we have another one coming up.
Well, that's good.
It's a great score. I like that.
So I think we've had 3 of these virtual tours, and you guys are the first perfect scores. So
Okay, mission accomplished.
Happy to hear that.
speaking of perfect, I have the perfect colleague in Peoria, Kirsten here. And Kirsten, you know, it's interesting. I think of it from you know, the city I work for, having a lifestyle center like this that was invested in 10 years ago, went through its own challenges, but really is starting to fully mature and bring that dynamic element that your community, surrounding communities want. So first of all, kudos to the city of Peoria and the long-term relationship you've already had with this particular project, but feel free to transition into kind of what this means for the city of Peoria, and not only for this initiative, but really how it could complement some of the other initiatives that you have in your community.
Mhm. Thank you, Mike. And I'll mail you your $5, okay? The Peoria Mayor and Council, they've been focused on attracting upscale chef-driven restaurants, things that are, you know, beyond the chains, and that's happening. You heard it last week with 83 Marketplace. You hear it now with Park West. I learned some new things, and this will be a phased-in project. I think we found with the quarantine how much we really do miss people. And I think people kind of stayed in their village, if you will, wherever you lived. You know, you went to the store and you came home, and how important that is. You didn't feel like driving, you know, miles to go someplace. So the foresight of Sire and Corridor to know that and to have their eyes at the future it's everything. You know, you've got to have developers that know what they're doing. This fits in with the city's plan to bring in more employment, bring in and kind of attract and retain a millennial workforce. I heard that in a presentation, or I guess the meeting earlier, Centra. That's key. That's, you know, who's coming up in the workforce. They're kind of, you know, 35, 37-ish, the oldest ones, and they probably have a family or starting a family, and they have some money and they want to go enjoy it. So we have to have these things to be able to attract them. You know, and they're coming. I think Peoria is unique in its topography and, you know, what it's done to attract a certain kind. Each one of our cities I love has its own culture, obviously. So do I have the screen to scroll forward?
You should be able to click through.
Okay, let me see. Well, there we go. And while you're here on your tour, I love that Westmark is doing this, and I know they're going to continue this. You know, it's hard to get out and drive around, and now that everybody's going to be driving around, there's a lot of traffic. But the other amenities that we have are very unique to Peoria. We've got miles and miles of trails that connect to the Maricopa County Regional Trail System. So quite literally, you could walk your way around the valley and go through Peoria. We've got Lake Pleasant. It's over 11 square miles of lake up there, a regional lake. And then you're seeing Sunrise Mountain and West Wing there as well. And we, you know, when I broke this up kind of into sections, we have a long city. So we've got north, central, south. So North Peoria, we've got this beautiful artistic piece. John knows the artist that did that. We've got some chef-driven restaurants. We've got Blackstone Country Club. And I want to point out Fabio on Fire. It's not the guy with the hair. It is actually someone who's a consultant to restaurants in Scottsdale. And he lives in Peoria and wanted a place where he could do what he does. It's very upscale, like fine dining, Italian dining. They just added a patio, delicious. Old Town is developing. We've got the Peoria Center for the Performing Arts, and in it is operating Theater Works, which has been a Valley staple for many, many years. Driftwood Coffee, if you guys have been there, very unique and kind of beautiful aesthetic when you walk in there. Second Saturdays, I really celebrate what our events team has done. They took Second Saturdays and put them online in like that quick. And I'm very, very impressed. We've got, actually the fire station is evolving again into an an event location. So keep your eyes on that. PD3, which is, I believe, well known. We are holding the Peoria Film Fest there every year, and that's a satellite event off of the Phoenix Film Foundation. So come and see that. And then, and that's it. So come and see us in Peoria, and thanks for watching.
Hey, Kirsten, thank you so much. And, you know, Peoria's done an incredible job making those investments in the open space. I think about the preserve. It was about 5 years ago. The voters made that investment in North Peoria, but really what we're talking about is a lifestyle for the West Valley. And, you know, we've said this a lot, but the success of one community, the amenities of one community is really the amenities of the West Valley. It allows us to bring in new inward investment, also looking for that employment piece. And then having projects like this lifestyle center really be kind of that crown jewel area that really from my place is 10 minutes. So I'm one of those million people. It's a fantastic amenity, not only for the city of Peoria to be proud of, but really for the West Valley to share, enjoy, and promote. So I want to thank everybody today. Anything else, Sintra, that you'd like me to be able to bring up before we allow everybody to get on with the rest of their Thursday afternoon?
Yeah, I just want to, thank everyone for bringing this information to us. As I was talking to Greg in the past couple of days, I told him this was one of my favorite spots that I go to. And so it's really cool to see all that's happening. I'm excited about the farmers market, which was new to me. I didn't know about that. But that's what this whole series is about. So it started again, kind of in the shutdown, but we felt that it was a perfect way to bring this audience, our audience of developers and brokers, to bring them this information virtually. So we plan on continuing this series as it's a permanent program that we now have. So if those of you on the line are interested in featuring your projects or learning more about this project, everyone's contact info is there, and of course you always know how to get a hold of me. So I would just say thank you, Mike. Thank you to Greg, John, Jean, Kirsten. This has been really great information. I always say I like to eat and I like to work out. So my favorite thing about Park West is all the restaurants and my Orange Theory. So, with that, thank you.
Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Mm-hmm.